I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, our first discussion item is one that's very timely, so I'm going to turn it over to Freda to lead the discussion on the consolidated funding applications.
Sure. The state's consolidated funding application round was announced last week. The actual application went up online last Thursday, and during that time we've been, for lack of a better word, scrambling a little bit to put together a project list to move forward. A couple of things. The deadline this year is June 16th, which is very compressed. It gives us about 5 weeks from now. In previous years, the state has come out to do workshops, regionally on the program. This year, they weren't available to do that until next week, which would, put it about a month out. So the division has partnered with the partnership to put on an event this evening from 6:30 to 8:30 in Rock Hill at Bernie's. Barton and LaJudas, which is consulting with the county on putting a long-term project pipeline list together, and who does a lot of this work, is going to be presenting a slideshow. We'll be there, and the purpose of the meeting is both to sort of get the information out, which frankly. Sorry. Oh, that's okay. The purpose of the meeting is not only to get the information out. Frankly, anyone can go online and click and look over the application, but also to try and encourage some networking and shared information on projects, because it's going to be a competitive year. Some projects are going to be more ready to go than others, and if you know that there's a neighboring project that's in a more advanced state of readiness, you might rethink yours. But even more importantly, because we're such a sparsely populated region, our projects tend to be smaller, and if we can bundle them, we might become more competitive because we'll be able to demonstrate a bigger impact. So hopefully this meeting will be able to encourage a little networking, so we can package projects together.
Tonight. All the legislators got invitations. I'm just letting you know.
That said, what I have next, and the real meat of this discussion, is to start talking about projects that the county would like to work on. And what I'm passing around is a spreadsheet.
Is it the same as this one?
No. This is that's the sort of I think that spreadsheet that you have is our
everything, not just the CF.
right. That's the division.
This is what we looked at last time.
That's
Updated, yeah.
Right. That's the division report. This is specifically relevant to potential CFA projects.
Thank you.
And I'd like to just give a shout out to Ethan, who spearheaded this and put this together, and the Grant Administration Department. Both Mary Allison and Art have been really helpful in getting this together.
I'm sorry.
I want to emphasize it's a work in progress. Boxes will change, and that you'll notice at the top it says potential projects and funding options, because I think in the next, hopefully in the next week, we'll be able to work with you, and then maybe go to executive committee when this comes around next week, and have a more a firmer list, and then be able to spend the rest of the month, or we've got 5 weeks to take a week finalizing the projects and then spending a month putting them together.
Is there a difference with what's in bold and what's in gray?
Yes, I was getting to that.
Sorry.
We wanted to make this as comprehensive, the list as comprehensive as possible, not just to give a sense of projects that the county might be involved in, but also projects that we know are out there. So the ones that are sort of shaded are projects that we've heard about that might go forward that we wouldn't necessarily take the lead on.
So, can I ask a question?
Sure.
For example, the Liberty CDC Community Development Corporation has consistently applied and received around $600,000 in CDBG grant funding.
Mm-hmm.
So would that be something you would want on your radar, even though, I don't know to what extent they've used the county for any assistance. Do you know, Jill or Art?
No, they've done theirs themselves.
Is this something that you
I
want
think
to
it's
be
something
aware
we'd
of?
want on the
Right.
radar because we want to get a sense of, you know, if you look at the column in terms of available funding, you know, we not only have what the project limit is, but what the pool is, because we want to get a sense of competitiveness. So, you know, if there's a group that's been consistently, you know, getting a chunk of those funds, that will make other projects, you know, slightly less competitive. So we want to, you know, we're trying to get a sense of what the full picture is, so we can judge where to put our efforts, and, you know, how successful it will be based on a variety of factors, including the competitive environment.
Got it.
May I? Kitty?
Yeah, go ahead.
Shovel-ready sites, looking at the state, they have a certification and so, are we looking to perhaps follow that model? 'Cause
I
it
think we
seems
would.
like a
I
good
think
one.
we would. I think basically the idea behind the shovel-ready sites project would be to pick a couple of sites, and, you know, a couple have been identified. I know Mark from the partnership says Sutphin is interested in doing something at the airport. You know, we've got, well, we don't have, but, you know, SUNY Sullivan has their Startup New York site that they designated as a startup site, but that's not shovel-ready, so that's, you know, potential to try and work with, you know, a few sites and bring them up to the state shovel-ready standards, so that when we say they're shovel-ready, they really are shovel-ready.
So they'd be, have that certificate of shovel-ready?
Exactly.
That'd be great.
You know, there are clearly issues, you know, with all of this. So, for example, the money that would be available for shovel readiness requires, the funding sources vary all over the place. There are 33 different programs, and, you know, some projects you can get up to 95% of the total project cost. Some projects you only get 20% of the total project cost. And the ones that have the larger match requirement tend to be the ones that are going to benefit private businesses. So, you know, the intent of the funding program is to stimulate business, but, you know, you don't want to give everything away to a private business, so that's why there's such a high match requirement, and we'd have to sort of work with potential partners to make sure that match was coming in. Just getting back to the spreadsheet, what we've done here is just look at, there are several pages of projects in different categories. We've identified the potential project. The first sort of batch of columns there look at what the project is, what the outcomes would be, what the product would be, and also to link everything to, county plan and objectives. So, projects aren't sort of being thought of, that there's a rationale for moving forward with them. They link to a plan. The middle set of columns is all about the grants, what possible grant programs are out there and what the match requirements are. And then the next two, in terms of judging whether we should move forward, are, what's the location impact? Is this going to be site-specific, or is it going to have an impact on a broader county area? Obviously, we want to get as much impact as possible. And is how ready is the project to go? Again, obviously, we want to move on the ones that are most ready. And then, the final two columns are, what the county role would be. And I think that's really where this discussion has to start focusing on. I've given a lot of preamble, but now let's get down to the meat. And maybe what we should do is just go through them category by category, because it's a long list. I know we have a short amount of time.
I think it's a good idea. One question, though, the other aspect of this, I would put under a broader category of community development.
Mhm.
What I didn't see listed, and I may have just overlooked it, was the possibility of CDBG funding for housing rehabilitation.
I will go back and check, but nearly every funding program that I've looked at on there says specifically no residential. I think there are
Okay,
other pools of money out there for housing.
Yeah.
We had Ethan brought in the Ruffco Rural Ulster
Housing
so, yeah,
opportunities.
exactly. Thank you. For discussion earlier this week, and they had highlighted really a number of potential pots of money out there that we can go for housing that are not
Okay.
linked to the CFA.
Oh, good, okay. Open ramp, more,
Yeah, yeah.
Jonathan?
But do you have any idea of what private sector businesses are gonna be applying?
Not yet. Hopefully, we'll be able to get an idea tonight. As I said, the partnership is setting up this event with us. They've promoted it widely. I think we've got about we're hoping for about 50 people coming. I think we've got RSVPs in the 30 range, and it's a mix, as I understand, some private, some not. I do know Sutphen specifically expressed interest to the partnership in doing something at the airport. And I also heard from Barton and Judas this morning that the Center for Discovery, which is not exactly, it's private nonprofit, that they will be looking to at least spearhead whether or not they're the applicant or not, but are going to be behind a number of applications. The state has, I think it's about 7 criteria that would bump up potential projects if they meet them. One is if the project involves or supports veterans. Another, if it supports projects that are in the pipeline. I think because of the money that's already gone to Center for Discovery, they might be in a better chance to get more money that would go into a pipeline project. So just getting back to what we have here. First page is economic development, shovel-ready sites. I've already mentioned that. And, in terms, we have sort of 2 projects here. One is the specific, let's get the infrastructure, the permitting done to bring, a few sites into the shovel-ready certification process. We would definitely need, project partners with this, and it's possible that they would take the lead and the county would just be supporting, but I think, we need to sort of work to, I guess, get those things happening. The other piece would be potentially to do a strategic development plan to inventory and assess sites. There's been discussion about creating a sort of corridor of shovel-ready sites. Right now, we have a few things that are identified that are kind of scattershot. The idea would be to do a plan to link them, identify other potential properties to create some kind of cluster. That recommendation is in the draft economic development plan. It says we don't have enough sites. It would be a planning study, and I think under the county role it says TBA leader support. I think we would probably have to take the lead because it would be a plan unless the partnership or IDA want to step up to the plate on that. The next piece, we've developed this idea of doing an accommodations plan with some potentially 1 or more pilot projects. The LWRP, draft LWRP talks about how we don't have enough beds for tourists. The economic development plan talks about how we don't have enough accommodations for business travelers. But we don't have a market study really to identify the need. So this plan would do the market study. It would also inventory, identify and inventory projects in the county or parcel development in the county that may have been used as a hotel or a guest house, in the past. That's, maybe the site is, is vacant potential for adaptive reuse. Maybe it's an existing motel that needs to be revamped. You know, we do an inventory and assessment of those properties, we do a market study, and then come up with a plan for, you know, adaptive reuse and trying to build, you know, rebuild that sector of the county's economy. It could, yeah.
Are you working with, the Treasurer's Department, because they do their bed count, you know, that's how they get their bed tax. So they have a certain amount of, data already collected, and they also have people that go out and check. So are you working with them?
We haven't yet.
Because
I did have a conversation with.
you don't
Mhm.
wanna redo what they've already accumulated.
The other question I would have when it comes to the, rooms, you know, when you go away someplace, you look at its rating, and you put yourself in a room
Mhm.
that has a better rating.
Right, right.
When you're planning on going, so are you also looking at the ratings of some of these places, 'cause
That could be
Some of-
built into there. We've talked about, you know, what Heather calls the social media component of
Isn't
that
that what we
project.
pay SCBA to do?
Nobody rates rooms in
I-
Sullivan County. When there was the minute that conversation comes up, you will have a world war.
Okay.
really?
Yeah.
I've been wanting a rating system in the county for 25 years, and everybody fights it. Everybody wants their opportunity for everybody to come.
Okay.
And they don't want anybody to know who has what.
Well, just
Look
wanna
at,
help-
yeah, look at Yelp.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, the other arm of that is that
And
when
that's-
when
and
you do
that's the thing that
kayak
saves
or
us.
any of those other TripAdvisor, that not a lot of our lodging places come up, and
Yep.
it's, so part of that is, how do we get them on there? Do you hire somebody to just log them on, or, you know, what's
You
the
need
next
somebody
step for that?
who stays at a place to at least start by putting a review on.
Many years
That's
ago,
already
when I had a campsite, it was rated by Good Sands and a couple of different places.
Mhm.
A quality
Yeah.
place can get a rating, you can get
Yeah.
a diamond, you know, AAA or anything like
Right.
that. But for the county or an organization in the county to be able to give people coming an idea of the quality of the lodging that they're coming to,
I'm
Not
gonna
gonna
jump
happen.
in for a minute, because I think that level of discussion should happen later on when
Mhm.
we're shaping the project, if we
Yep.
decide to go for it. But
Okay.
right now, we're just kind of laying out,
Yep.
you know, what's out there, and, you know, we need some direction of where the legislature
Priorities.
wants us
Alright.
to go.
Yeah, I think
Um,
for frame, I'm gonna frame the next half hour because we have a lot to cover between now and then. Just building upon what Fred just said, the staff members are gonna need direction in terms of what grants they should be working on. There's 6 weeks, which isn't, not even left. So it's a very short window of time, and we have limited resources to devote to it. On this one, I think it's a great program. I'm not sure of the timing of it, just because, you know, if we're successful and facilities start to be built here, the study might be premature, because it would be a different world if casinos are built.
On the other hand,
But do we want to devote resources in the next 6 weeks to this study is, I think, part of the question.
well, I think, you know, we wouldn't be doing the study, we'd just be applying for the study. By the time we actually get if we got the award, and by the time we got the award and ramped up, we would know what the casino landscape was gonna be. So I think it would be, you know, actually very, very timely study. As far as development pilot projects, someone mentioned the private sector, there is, someone looking to redevelop the Narrowsburg Inn. They have a business plan, they're ready to go. They might, I mean, it would take a little more work, but they've been identified as a potential private sector partner to do a pilot project with, so we could couple the study with an actual, you know, redevelopment, on the ground.
I'd like to suggest that we have as one of the columns an assessment tool to be able to see what the turnaround
Question.
time would be, so that you're identifying those projects that have already had, you know, 1 or 2 years worth of discussion and development, as opposed
Sure.
to something that's still in the concept stage. Cause that's what we were trying to do last year.
For each of these categories, do you have in your mind what you're prioritizing in terms of? workload? Because that might help give us a
Right.
starting point.
In terms of the criteria that Cora just mentioned, I think shovel-ready sites has been on the radar for a while, and I think the partnership is behind that, and that may not necessitate a fair amount of staff time, because we may not be looking, I don't think we'll be the lead on that, but it's something we would be working on helping with. The accommodations plan, that is a new idea. On the other hand, it's a new idea that's in response to issues that have been raised in 2 county plans. So it's a convergence, and it hits a number of issues. It hits the accommodation needs, and it also, because it's looking at the redevelopment potential of some properties, it addresses the economic development plan identifies image as an issue here with properties that haven't been maintained. And you drive around, you see old guest houses that are falling down, and it would address the sort of blight issue as well. So it would, and in terms of actual project readiness, because it's a planning study, I mean, that's something that can just be written up. I don't think we would need, it doesn't need a whole lot of work. So it's fairly ready to go. And as I said, the private sector partner has a business plan and is in the works. So, again, I think both of these two are sort of in fairly good shape to go. The next item, I think I'll turn this over to Jill and Melinda, so I can stop talking for a bit.
The dairy processing facility is something that we've had funding through the USDA ARPA. But we just recently RFP'd it again because the last applicant kind of fell through. So we do currently have another proposal on hand, but the scale of the project is a lot larger than what the ARPA funds are. So we thought in order to further that project, it would be beneficial to see if we can apply through the CFA for additional funding. The respondent has some partnerships already created and has a facility in mind, so it seems pretty grant ready to kind of go forward with it if the board decides that that's something we should focus on.
I'm not clear on who the lead agency is.
With dairy processing?
For the
Well, it depends on the grant source. In some instances, the applicant themselves would be, for some of the tax incentive programs and certain programs like that, they would actually be the applicant. And then for some of the programs, the county would be the applicant. So that's something that we do need to clarify as far as, is that one CFA with multiple applicants, or is it 2 separate CFAs that reference each other? So that is something we need to address through.
And who's the lead
regional
agent in the USDA grant?
Planning department, county.
So that's a grant we already have for leasing equipment. It seems to us that in order to make the lease work, it would need, the business concept would need some additional support and some packaging. And so it would be trying to throw more resources to get something off the ground. And I think those are our top 3 economic development projects. We also have workforce development as the first row on the next page, which is related to economic development. I think we've given it a separate row because the CFA has sort of fairly large segment of programs for workforce development, maybe I think up to 4 potential grant programs. So we had that separate, and if we can just maybe get some feedback on the 3 projects that we put forward, and then
Wait a
we'll
minute, I'm
move on
not
to
clear
other
on
categories.
Can you just repeat that last sentence about that the workforce development has a lot of different funding pots, is
Yeah.
what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly.
And therefore you're going to apply for all of them?
No,
or-
no, no. I just put it in a separate category because it seems like there's stronger potential there, in terms of picking and choosing. Also, it wouldn't be a planning division project, it would be a workforce project.
Okay, one of the things, and this is, I'm just letting you know that we've been trying, and I think we've been somewhat successful by sticking our big toe in the water with approaching companies that have received some sort of tax abatement to encourage them to work with long-term unemployed. So if you can get the statistics from Laura Quigley about we started with Ideal Snacks as and tracking, what worked and what didn't work in terms of long-term unemployed. I think that's, if a particular company is getting a tax abatement, we can only voluntarily ask them to participate in some sort of tracking mechanism like that. But since she's done it once already, I think it's important because it brings up, very similar issues in each one of the companies with regards to what it takes to get the long-term unemployed back into gainful employment.
Definitely, we'll follow up with that.
Thanks. And if you can get money to continue that and do it across more than just one pilot, I think it would be helpful in terms of the numbers, getting long-term unemployed back into work. It's not a policy, it's a voluntary. Once they've gotten the tax abatement, it's not included in the policy, you can't make them do it.
Saying you were talking about tax abatement, which I assume most of which come from the IDA.
Well, we're
So the
targeting
IDA
those
made it part of
companies
your
that are already
policy.
getting a break,
It is.
It is part of the policy.
There you go.
but it hasn't been enforced, is that the deal?
No, it's in force.
Fred, with the dairy processing, you have 1, 2, 3, you have 6 potential funding sources listed. Has that been narrowed down at all?
Not yet. It's been kind of a process first to identify the projects and then just to match the programs with the projects, and that would be the next step. And I think we would have, with respect to the dairy processing facility, we would need to, and I think this actually might happen tomorrow morning, sit down with the, potential applicant. They have a consultant, working to support their application process, who assembled their application to the county, would continue to work on the CFA projects. So we need to sort of have that conversation with them to see where that would go.
Okay, so it sounds like it's gonna be a private developer doing the application, we're providing us technical assistance?
I think, sorry, Brenna, I think that's where, I had
That's the question.
said to Cora was, depending on the program, depending on who the applicant can be, and so in certain instances, the business will have to be the applicant because of the tax credit, and then the county would apply. Again, some of these also, are rolling, they're not by the June deadline, so
Okay.
they might, they're not as high a priority as some of them, but that's why they're all there, they're potential applications.
Yeah, we'll have to make decisions relatively quickly, because anything that has a match, we're gonna have to have an idea of how much you're applying for, and what the
Exactly.
county share is going to be.
And,
So it can add up quite quickly.
we also haven't sat down to sort of vet this with the county's consultants. They've talked about how bundling projects, makes you more competitive. There's another, there may be another strategy in terms of also bundling applications to make, the project seem bigger and more viable. So, we would need to look at not simply, which, but which ones. And part of that is to identify exactly what the project element for each grant would be, and to think about timing. Which pieces of money would they need first?
Okay.
Is the county required to set up a match for any of these?
It would be required to set up a match for anything that the county was a lead with. So, in terms of the shovel-ready site development strategy, that's an 80% match. It's gonna have to come from, the, property owner. With, the sort of, the pool of money for ESD strategic planning and feasibility studies, we have that as a potential, pot for 2 projects, both the shovel-ready strategic plan and the accommodations plan. I don't think we could go for both. I think we need, we need to decide which one the county was more interested in pursuing. And we don't have we'd have to come up with a cost estimate for the project. It's a planning study, so, not large. It would be 50% match, most of which could be done in kind, but there need to be a 10% cash match. So, for example, if we did a, $50,000 accommodations plan, it would be $5,000. Our division has a discretionary budget, we could probably find money, that money in there for it. But we would need the support to do that, as well as the support to put the staff support behind, to come up with the other match.
Fred, I think all these projects have merit, so.
Excuse me?
All the projects have merit.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna look to your lead to kind of help sift through all of these and then
Okay.
set the priorities.
Okay.
Obviously, my colleagues have opportunity to comment and, provide their input, but let's continue going through it. We'll go through the
Sure.
Main Street ones. But, I trust your judgment on these, so, and I know the timeframe is short, so.
Exactly, as I said, in terms of timing, it came out last week, we took a week to sort of get this together. We're gonna take another week to sort of hone it down, and that would give us a solid month to get the applications going.
Oh, and I just had a question about the dairy, the dairy.
26 business days.
Jill behind me. Hey, Jill.
What?
Art's
Oh.
reminding us, 26 business days.
That total grant can be split between more than one applicant, right? Is that what we have
It can,
determined?
but there's only
one right now?
Only one responded
And,
to the RFP.
and for every amount that they apply for, they have to create a certain amount of jobs, so.
Okay, so did they apply for the whole amount?
Mhm.
They did.
And that's why I think they have, proposed that their equipment is $1 million.
Okay, and that just happened, right? Because the other
Yes,
one.
Friday, yeah, so that's why,
Okay.
yeah, everything goes
Okay.
right.
I just want to, as the process moves forward, especially if we're going to be supporting a particular application, the more information the legislature has up front, the better. So
Mhm.
location, who's applying, et cetera, so it's not a big mystery.
The other
Sid-
thing is that impact doesn't have, because even though it says here location impact, it's not necessarily, the impact that it would have to change the landscape. I know that, the buzzword was transformative. I don't know if they've dropped that or kept it or not, but that as a you're
Mhm.
laughing, I don't know.
No,
if
I'm
it's
not
still there.
laughing, I'm smiling in recognition, is what I'm doing.
But, it is something that if one project, it may be smaller, it may appear to be smaller, have smaller amounts, but as a result of it, that there would be a change in the landscape in the dairy processing of Sullivan County, something like that. That's one thing that's hard for me to gauge from
Right.
looking at the chart.
Jill, my sense is this wouldn't necessarily transform the whole dairy landscape. It would create a nice big dairy business, but would it transform the
Well,
landscape?
I know that
well,
there was tremendous outreach to the farming community, right? We had talked about maybe some smaller, amounts going to like a goat dairy or something
Well,
like
and I think
that.
that's what one of the initiatives in the economic development plan is to increase dairy processing facilities, smaller scale ones. So this isn't the end all be all of them, but it's one solution to help our dairy farmers, access another market. rather
But
than
that's what
selling
I'm
to
trying to point
co-op
out, that
and
a
stuff.
smaller project
But
may
I don't
end
think
up
that
having
can be determined as far as the dairy community goes, because we had to have that discussion about them being under contract with their
Right, well,
dairy.
they all have different contracts that say whether between 10 and 15% that they can divert, to
Okay, I
get
just
the
need to bring us
process
back
going.
off on.
Yeah, I just need
the,
some more information about that.
What we
We
should
got a
probably
lot.
do is follow up with you after this.
That's a little
this
tricky.
meeting.
Just
Okay.
impact, I just want impact.
All the little detailed discussions, if we can, we have such limited time, so I just want to keep us.
Well, we have to
moving.
get as much information here in committee, because discussion doesn't always
Well, I'm gonna-
continue afterwards.
I'm gonna let you and Kitty debate the next section. Because I see Livingston Manor and Jefferson Falls potential projects.
Easily. Okay, I was gonna ask you to pick up the ball on this one.
No, don't get into a big debate now. Ethan, wanna update us on?
I said go at it, go ahead.
The next bar there on the left says Main Street revitalization. It's, we've sort of distinguished there in our categories, which are floating back and forth from economic development per se, although it is economic development, but we're thinking that it's really, these are sort of place-based projects fitting under community development with a broader rubric as well. But we have been in discussion with Jeffersonville. They approached us about doing a New York Main Street grant program, which is the grant that we administered in the river corridor from 2010 through 13. So,
That's the local waterfront revitalization, or that's
no,
separate?
No.
it was complementary, based on the local waterfront revitalization planning process we were doing. We applied for a New York Main Street basically rehab grant program for 3 of the hamlets in the river corridor.
Got it.
So Jeffersonville has approached us. They've stepped up as well. So we think it's a good candidate if everyone is in agreement for the county to work with the village. An advantage of working with the village is that they have their own some administrative capacity, although they would like us to do a lot of capacity building for them, but they have, the ability to process payments. So I think even if we were the lead, we would be expecting them to do a lot of the grant administration on that and a lot of the outreach. So that's where, even though it's a single community, we think it might be a good fit. Although it was painful, we could, the CDBG Micro Enterprise Grant Program is available again. So it was a steep learning curve for everyone in our department. I think Jill has closed out the last of them, but there was also there was a great demand for not only both for the grants and also for the training that went along with it. So we think that would be worth seeking another pot of CDBG Micro Enterprise money for small grants that would be matched to the Micro Enterprise Loan Program that we just sought funding for through the USDA Rural Business Opportunity Grant that I think Jill could speak to if there were questions.
Can I just mention a little bit about the potential restaurant focus?
Yeah. Oh, I thought you said you were going to. Yeah, so we're looking at targeting these micro enterprise grants in clustered areas and maybe clustered sectors like restaurants. It's very difficult for restaurants to access lending. So if we could do small grants or grant loan combinations for them, even though they're higher risk, we figured that that's a sort of a public good if we could create more restaurants that spur our tourism and revitalization, like through all hours of the day in our Main Street areas.
And
The
200,000
applicants-
is the total amount that's in the pot?
Yes.
To apply? That's the
No, these
ceiling?
are, that's the
Yeah.
maximum we could receive as a pot to administer.
I got it.
So even,
That is a CDBG grant, so it's part of the larger CDBG allocation.
as far as the applicants that were not awarded in the last round, will you reach out to them as well again?
That was the intent, we had to go back to that list to see where people are with their business
Okay,
plans.
and you'll be taking new applicants as well?
If we get it.
Right, if you get.
That would be to be designed in the program, but I think we would give everyone we would open up anew. I don't know whether we would prioritize those that applied before, but presumably, they would get to apply again, and they would probably be, more ready. So grant readiness with all of these programs is really a point of emphasis by the state. So I think if there were a business that had gone through the training and it was just looking for that infusion of capital, again, the grants aren't very large, it's $5,000 to $35,000. But the thought here is by having the little bit of grant, we can leverage the loan funds the loan pools that we have and get some more people using that money particularly in the Main Street areas.
One of the things I think is really important about that, when we've had, 85 businesses starting out, that you're providing a lot of educational tools, business plans, and so on and so forth, so that the 35,000, the match or whatever, they may actually be getting a value of 100,000.
Yeah.
And I think that's a slightly different marketing tool that you use to attract businesses to do that, so that whether they end up, going through the whole, how long is the whole program lasting?
It was an 8-week training session.
Right.
Do you mean the training session, or do you mean the whole
I'm talking about the
program?
whole thing, because my understanding was that, by the time you have the drop-off and the people who finally finish the program, out of the 80 that started, you ended up with how many?
We funded 8.
8.
We funded 11, 3 dropped out. We ended up.
So,
Yeah, let's, and I,
Right,
That's what I'm saying.
right,
Yeah,
only
we should just
30,
go through them.
only 30 were invited into the training.
A chance if we've done it.
that's why we were thinking by the restaurant focus, we could take the people who made high or ranked high in that were restaurants.
You know, I mean,
and give
considering
them the
last
funding
year, we were
to
only
target
instructed to
them,
do
and then
one.
tailor the
You
training
know,
to
this
that.
is, it's a lot bigger, it's a lot bigger.
Are you going, you going to speak about
No,
the,
that remains to be
Livingston
seen.
Manor piece?
Livingston Manor,
Yeah.
actually came,
Right,
brought
exactly.
together a group of stakeholders and county reps yesterday. I think we have a source potentially. There was a CDBG Community Development Block Grant, planning grant that hasn't been available for a couple of years, so we think that might be a good fit because it does look for areas of distressed property, low income, and Livingston Manor in its census block, I think qualifies as the minimum qualification for based on income. So that's potentially, again, sort of creating a pipeline of future projects in Livingston Manor, looking at doing a planning initiative with them now, based on some abandonments, the flood mitigation issues there, and helping them develop a long-term plan to build out their downtown.
Is there any way to process this, local waterfront? We've got a lot of rivers in the manor.
Right.
You're asking about local water distribution?
Yes.
Yeah,
Excuse us,
All right.
but I'm asking about the local water piece. Is there a way to access those monies for development of the upper end of Main Street?
It's a good question. Those are, the LWRP program is only eligible for waterways designated by the state as eligible local waterfronts. They started with US coastal definitions, and we were able to apply in 2008 for the Upper Delaware River because that was classified as a major inland waterway. But I think there are waterways around the state that get classified, but you have to do that through the assembly. So if you want the Willowee-Mock or the Neversink to be a local waterfront revitalization eligible waterway, it's something to talk to our state representatives.
If the Corps of Engineers gets their way, we can do ditches.
I mean, I'm very serious because I mean, the
Just can't do
Little
anything.
Weemock
I wanted to
is
wake Dan up, I'm sorry.
it's a national known fly
And
fishing
myself.
stream, so I don't understand. It's not a designated?
No, it's not.
But you hit it right
Not
on the
yet.
head.
So you'll have that opportunity. I'm sorry. I'm trying to keep everyone focused. When I do this, I'm gonna be reeling these in a little bit. We gotta. I like all three of these programs for Main Street revitalization. So you know, if you feel you can pursue those, I would encourage you to do so. And even though none of them are in my legislative district, they're good projects. So you have my full support.
Well, you also bring up another good point. Maybe we should be a little more proactive.
Okay, we're gonna go to
That's
the
another
next
discussion.
page.
Okay.
You know, I think what planning and Freda have outlined here is really an ambitious
Yeah, and I think
list
that,
of projects, but
I
it's
was
good.
just gonna jump in, I think the match is gonna be a barrier to you know, a fair number of these, just looking at the match requirements on this last page, you know, 50%, 80%, you know, yeah,
So we need to come to grips with that
right, exactly.
before they start
Right.
working on it.
I think, you know, the entire program this year it seems to be asking for, you know, bigger commitments, shorter time frame to respond, and bigger commitments. I mentioned this, at last week's economic development meeting, the idea of doing a project for Upper Delaware Public River access. We have the project now that's creating conceptual plans for 6 access points. It seems logical to take it to the next step, to apply for money to build, you know, or you know, develop at least 2. And a 50% local match is required. How much that 50% match would kind of depend upon the activities that we apply for, because in terms of, you know, taking it from where we are at the conceptual stage to full build out, there are 4 activities that need to be done. Ownership and maintenance agreements, which some of the access points have, some don't. Environmental review and permitting, and or before environmental review and permitting, full planning and engineering design, full design engineering plans. Those 3 things are all what's called soft costs and would be you know, the match could be manageable, and then there would be construction. And you know, so we could do all 4 and shoot for construction, but it would require a bigger match. If we left construction to the following year, obviously the match would be a lot smaller. The next item in here is the county parks and trail plan. That would be fairly comprehensive. It would cover a bunch of things, in discussions with Ed and Kristen in parks. Like, you know, they from time to time want to do something and improve Lake Superior. The state says, well, you need a plan for, you know, you need to have a master plan. We can't do anything because, you know, you need to show us a master plan. The idea of doing a county plan would be to, you know, do Lake Superior, but couch it in the full comprehensive context of the county. A plan would help us identify not only the existing trails, but the future trail linkages that we want to develop. It would support tourism efforts by giving us, you know, a comprehensive inventory that could be marketed. And it probably would not be, you know, a huge, a huge budget item. Reimbursement of 50%, total project cost, this is up to 75% in impoverished areas. I don't know if we'd qualify, but there's a chance.
Where
that
are
would-
you? I lost you.
I'm on the county parks and trail plan, page 3.
Can I just mention though, one of the things that we've been promoting is that whatever grants you ask DPW or any department is part of something that they would be doing anyway, as opposed to additional workload, you know, because the workload in DPW starts
Right, that's why we
so far
had,
in advance.
right, that's why we had that conversation, with Ed and Kristen.
So do
the
these
plan-
actually cut the county share in any way?
Do they what?
Decrease the burden of the county share of our annual operating budget in any way? Have you looked at it from that perspective?
It wouldn't from that perspective. It would enable them to do something that they haven't been able to do.
I think your next section potentially would, the infrastructure section. These are more recreational activities. The next section, I think, addresses the facilities.
Thank you.
More comments? I mean, you know, the idea of whether we even go for a recreation open space grant depends upon whether that's a county priority or not.
I think there's
And-
definitely merit to pursuing that. I know we've talked about, Scott and I have talked about creating a trails task force. I can see where this could tie right into that quite nicely. So, I guess I would ask you to give it a little more thought, maybe come back with, you know, what you think a budget for this
Okay.
might be, and then.
I mean, you had asked in terms of, you know, our priorities, what we would think the most important would be.
Yeah.
And I think Delaware, public river access, you know, again, because
Yeah,
of
yeah.
honoring planning activities. I mean, why do the concept plans if there's no commitment to move forward and, you know, keep that moving?
Yeah, we have the enhancement plan for the, Upper Delaware, so.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Can I just ask you a question? As far as that section there, the rec and open space and the Upper Delaware and the parks and like that, being that tourism on the western end of the county along the river corridor and the history and heritage and all that for Delaware is tremendous as far as tourism goes, is there a way to incorporate in there some kind of a marketing plan for that, like either through a consultant or something that will
That's
just take
possible.
that piece and kind of run with it?
That's very possible. Oh, Ethan, those are for tonight.
Oh.
Sorry, they weren't for now.
I'll take
Someone
some
wants
now.
to look at it.
Yeah, can
I'm
we
gonna
take
be
one
there, so
now?
I'll take mine now.
Okay.
I won't take one tonight.
Can we
Sure,
take one?
yeah, please.
It's too late.
We'll just print some more. And they're available online. We just thought we'd have
Because I know
some
we-
copies.
I'd rather kill a tree.
Because we have, and I know that we have county parks, I believe we have 5 museums we have, and, you know, even the state parks, like we have,
Lake Superior is a state park.
But,
So-
Right,
you know,
right.
getting back to marketing, there is a specific, funding program
Yeah,
called
it is.
Market New York that's specifically for tourism marketing and tourism facilities. The facilities, you know, this could come under that, but it would require the 80% cash commitment or, you know, match equipment, which we don't have.
But if we were gonna
But-
say, assign a point person in county to be that
Okay, we
marketer,
just,
is that a possibility?
You mean to hire someone?
No, I mean to try to designate, somebody that just specifically focuses on the marketing piece of it.
I'm sorry, I'm still not sure
To
what the
incorporate
question
it
is.
within the county itself?
You
Or
mean
this- or
independent
this
of the
Market New
grant or
York
right now? I mean,
Within that grant?
We can look at that. I mean, I don't think the, funding program will fund like an extra county staff person.
Okay, I
Because
got
they
that.
usually don't.
We
But
gotta
they
go
would
on.
fund, they could
Sometimes-
fund a consultant to come in and do
Right.
like a marketing program.
I'll talk to
Cindy,
you
can we
after
take
this.
some of
There are
these
a couple things in the
questions
hopper that-
afterwards?
Yeah, through
Follow-up
National New
questions?
York.
No, but I'll talk to you about it later.
County facilities?
Yeah,
and
I'm gonna be quick on the
sustainability?
county facilities and sustainability. Just in a brief side conversation with Josh, you know, we looked at it and looked at the, you know, the cost share, required and, you know, what it would take to do. I was speaking with Ed and, you know, there is a county project to redo the parking lot in Liberty. And I was suggesting that the green infrastructure program could be a good match for that because it would allow that parking lot redevelopment to be done, not just, you know, repave it and make it functional, but to be done in a way that we could showcase green development, sort of maybe set a new tone for development in the area and be a, you know, model project, which is what they're looking for, and get all sorts of enhancements. Ed was on board with that. The issue is the timing might not be great because I think social services, family services, you know, need that parking lot redone sooner rather than later. So it's a question of whether we try and go for the upgrade. It would delay that project for a while.
Okay. We'll trust your lead on that. We're good, we're good. All right. Ira, oh, he's back, okay. Ira, County Treasurer's report.
Want to do resolutions, Alan, or we go?
Sure.
Sure.
We have 4 handout resolutions, which are all, conveyance, and I'd actually like to move those as a block unless you want, just.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, second on the motion?
Seconded by,
Seconded by,
seconded by,
we're moving them as a block.
Do we have them?
Yeah,
seconded by.
yeah, they're handouts, they're conveyances.
You want them all?
I got
We're
it.
moving them as a block.
I got it.
Okay.
I'm fine with it.
You seconded it?
I second.
Thank you.
No one else is paying attention.
Okay,
No, Ira's got it. Ira, you can put Ira down.
We don't make enough money to pay
Oh, they're
attention.
doing more piece by piece.
Yeah.
I don't know about the rest of these.
It's been a long day. Discussion. Ira, is there anything you wanna elaborate on, or we could just, we got a first and a second, so.
Yeah, I think they're all private sales. We've got a sale to the town of Tustin.
What'd you get for?
We've got a private sale and we've got a sale to the Ramacading Ambulance Corps.
Yeah.
We've got a private sale in the town of Fallsburg for property, which is basically a portion of a right-of-way,
Okay.
which is this one. And the last one is a property in the town of Calico, which a couple have offered to purchase from us and clean up. They're a young couple who opened a business in Calico, and will make good use of the property. They've offered us more than the assessed value and certainly more than the amount of the delinquent taxes.
Yeah, I think all of these have merit, and got a first and a second, I'm gonna call the question if there's no further discussion. All in favor? Okay, thank you.
That's it.
Ira, is there anything else?
We have another resolution to authorize a public hearing on the agenda.
Ag districts.
Yeah.
Okay. We have another resolution. It's,
Mammocating,
Okay.
Tustin, Fallsburg, Calhoun.
There you go.
okay, we have another resolution.
It's coming.
It's on the agenda.
Well, this one's on the agenda, so I'll just read it. This is to authorize a public hearing for the inclusion of additional parcels into the agricultural district number 4.
Motion.
Jean.
Second on the motion?
Second.
Ira?
Ira.
Okay, all those in favor of setting the public hearing? All right,
5-0.
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah, I'm in here.
Do you have any other resolutions?
No.
Okay.
What?
Public comment?
Put it in executive.
Ken?
With everything.
I want to go back to the top one on shovel-ready sites. Go to the partnership website. I only have 2 copies. Okay, let me back up. I think, I have a problem with the posting of stuff on the website. I believe it should be posted so there's one business day available for everybody to look at what's on the website as far as meeting agendas, and handouts, when possible, should be also included. Because there's an issue that I'm going to talk about right now. If I had it ahead of time, I would have been better prepared than what I'm going to say now. But with it being on one business day ahead of time, that gives everybody in the public and on the legislature to read everything and be totally informed. In the past, I've seen when things have been tabled because we didn't have enough time to read it. There'll be no more excuse for that. So there's no reason why this cannot be done on, let's see, Wednesday, on Tuesday night. Because most of the time, most of your legislators are here during Tuesday, and you can brush up on what you want on your committees and be done with it, and be up on the website for everybody to see. Getting back to the issue of shovel-ready. These 2 papers, which I'm going to give to Anne Marie, came off of the partnership website. Shovel-ready. Green Tech site at Sullivan County Community College. It's already supposed to be shovel-ready, not quite shovel-ready, but a lot further along than where they want to put it into the Startup New York site. And again, they mention it again on another one, recent projects that are on board. I also don't think that their website is always up to date with information, and then I think under shovel-ready they have maybe 6 sites that they have listed. So I don't think, if you want to have a shovel-ready site at the community college, I think the tech park, which was designated long ago, is in a better location and is easier, quicker to develop, and also cheaper to develop than the one down in that hole where there's wetlands and which is a long pump for the pump station. Thank you.
Other public comment? Seeing none, I'll ask for, do we need an executive, right? All right, yeah, we do have several items that need to be discussed in an executive session, so it's for the purpose of discussion, potential litigation. So a motion, a second, okay. All right.
Motion, 2 second, I'm sorry, I'm writing down the reasons for executive session.
Ira, second, Amanda first.